Sam, you've been at the club since November, which I can't believe. Time seems to have really flown by. How are you finding it so far?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Obviously settled in pretty quickly. Quite a lot of work on quite quickly coming into the role, taking over from Andy after a long time. So took a little bit of settling in, but yeah, no, I've enjoyed my time so far. We've been busy, but I'm enjoying it. It's a good club, so I'm happy enough.
You've obviously come here during a time where coronavirus is very much at the forefront of everything we do in terms of the guidelines that we follow, and you're very much a part of that as well. How did you sort of find that when you first come in, having to deal with that side of things as well as injuries?
Yeah, it's been tough. Obviously, it's been tough for everyone. Had a bit of experience coming from my previous role with coronavirus. It's impacted what we do on a daily basis massively. If I'm honest. You can't get away from it. It's changed our practices quite significantly. You throw into that obviously congested fixture list and injuries. It is a lot, but obviously everyone's just had to adapt, and it becomes normal pretty quickly. So I'd say now we're at the point where we just get on with it. It's very much normal now. Where earlier on in the season or to the back end of last season, it was completely alien to us and took a lot of getting your head round. I think now everyone's just it runs like clockwork at the minute. Everyone's just so used to the testing, and everyone's been through it. So yeah.
You're involved in that testing process along with our club doctors. Were you pleased when the EFL announced that we would be doing twice weekly testing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think for the safety and the welfare of the players is paramount. Peace of mind for the players and their families, and the staff and their families, knowing that they're coming into a safe environment where everyone's being tested twice weekly. I think from a confidence perspective, it's really important, and obviously helps us manage any cases that you do pick up. I think we've been fortunate enough here that we've not had many cases at all, relatively, compared to some other clubs. So the twice weekly testing's been really important for us.
You briefly touched in there, you mentioned about a previous role. What can you tell us about your background and where you came from to end up at Rochdale?
Yeah, so I came across from Blackburn Rovers. I spent close to 5 years there, working majority of the time with the under-23 team, where obviously I would lead on the rehab of under-23 players, and then obviously when COVID came into place, I was leading on the COVID testing. So it set me up well for coming in and leading on rehab here with the players on a daily basis, and then taking over the COVID bits that need doing as well. I had some good experience of that. So yeah, I've been able to take a lot of things forward. It's obviously different being in a first team environment, different club, just getting used to how different people work. It's taken a little bit of time, but a lot of the day-to-day physio bits that I do are very similar to what I was doing at Blackburn previously.
You mentioned you were there for 5 years. Did you feel as though this first team opportunity was the sort of right time for you? It was the next step in your career?
Very much so, yeah. Enjoyed my time over there, but like anything, you come to a point in your career where you want to kick on and you want to take that next step. Spoke to Brian and obviously interviewed for the role. Spoke to Brian, who's been brilliant with me, and the staff are brilliant. The players are a good group of lads, so it's helped me settle in and hopefully can make a difference. It's been tough with injuries this season. We've been quite unlucky in a sense. So yeah, just getting along with the players, getting along with the staff, it means a lot. Like, goes a long way. Yeah,
coming away from coronavirus, your main duties are very much the care of the players, and especially those who are injured, in terms of helping them with their rehab. Look at sort of the two longer term injuries first, if that's okay, in Matthew Lund and Jimmy Ryan. What can you tell us about their injuries and where they're up to in that process?
Yeah, so Jimmy obviously got injured in the game at Wigan, I believe, in a tackle. Has quite a significant injury history, Jimmy. He's been quite unlucky over the years with his injuries, so quite a complex case, but has worked really, really hard through a tough time, has rehabbed well, has really attacked his programme, and hopefully is at a point where we'll see him in training pretty soon, to be honest. I'm looking at hopefully in the next week to 10 days that we can start pushing him on a little bit and seeing him back training with the first team fully, of what's been a long process for him. So that'll be refreshing for the group, and massive for Jimmy, for himself, to see him back in there. be happy to get Jimmy back in. Matty Lund again rolled his ankle quite badly in a game down here a few weeks back. Quite a significant injury, of which we're trying to get back. Obviously, as soon as we can. We know what a massive player Matty is for us. Everyone knows that. He's working hard in the gym. Has begun the grass-based phase of his rehab. So again, he's really attacking it and is motivated to get back as quickly as possible. So we'll be doing everything we can, to try and get Matty back as quickly and as safely as possible. Really.
You mentioned there that Jimmy could be back in training in as little as 10 days' time, but will the fans perhaps have to be patient before they see him back in a matchday squad, given how long he's faced on the sidelines?
I'd say so, yeah. It's been a long process for him, and just getting him back in the training group is massive for Jimmy, for his confidence, following what's been a long time out for him. So he's going to need a little bit of time, but I think everyone knows that Jimmy's a quality player, and it shouldn't take him too long to get back up to speed. He's worked really, really hard in rehab. The way he's moving, I'm really happy with him. So fingers crossed it won't take him too long to get back up to speed. But a little bit of caution probably be wise with him. Yeah.
When players are out for such a long time, like Jimmy and Matthew, do you find yourself having to help them through sometimes mentally as well when they're away from the main group for such a long time?
It's a massive part of the role. A lot of the time it's even more important than the actual injury themselves. The injuries are one thing to get over, but for someone like Jimmy, for example, who's missing a large part of the season, an important season for him, he's an important player for us. That mental aspect of it is huge. The anxiety coming away from playing and training, feeling like there's times during the process when, is he ever going to get back? The players can often feel like they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So just motivating them and keeping them on track and keeping, setting goals regularly, managing that mental aspect is huge. It takes up probably more than 50% of the process is keeping boys on track and keeping them motivated to keep pushing. Yeah.
Moving on to another player, Stephen Humphreys. He, of course, was forced off injured here against Peterborough last weekend. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, so Stephen damaged his hamstring in the game at Peterborough. He's, again, settled quite quickly and is working really hard. We've begun the grass-based phase of rehab. I think he's going to be a little bit of time yet, but the fact that we've been able to start the grass-based phase of rehab is really reassuring, really positive for me to see that at this stage already. So again, we'll be pushing him as much as we can, but at the same time remembering that we have to get him back and keep him back. So cautiously, pushing him basically. But he's again really motivated to get back as soon as possible.
It was a little bit bittersweet last weekend, and we of course welcomed Jake Beasley back from injury, and he took the place of Ryan McLaughlin, who found himself out of action again, having picked up a bit of a niggle in training on the Friday. How's he doing? Yeah,
so Jake, it was brilliant to see Jake back, having come back from obviously fracturing his foot. So that was massive for the boys and the staff to see him back out there. Disappointing that obviously we lose Ryan McLaughlin in training the day before. Ryan's doing really well. Ryan's doing okay. He's pushing on the grass. We're going to again try and get him back in the next few days, I would hope. It's nothing too significant. So again, Ryan's really keen to get back in. Wants to be available for as many fixtures as possible. So we'll hopefully help him along with that and get him back in as soon as possible. Really.
Have you very quickly sort of built up a good relationship with Ryan, so you know sort of what his limits are, what he can do, what he can't do?
And that's the same with a lot of the boys, to be honest. The physical demands of what they're asked to do. Jake Beasley, we all know, works unbelievably hard, runs a lot of meters, sprints a lot of meters. So the physical demands of each player are different. Ryan's the same. He puts in high sprint distances, high intensity meters. So we have to make sure that he's conditioned when he does go back in, that he's able to achieve what he needs to for a game. So you have to get used to that pretty quickly. But again, it's just part of first team football and wanting to have the highest player availability rate, and you need your best players available for selection. That's the game, to give Brian as many options as possible. So that's all we try and do, and it's a bit of a balancing act at times, but you're trying to push as much as possible, but at the same time being safe and making sure that these boys can stay fit when they do come back. That's where I see my role, really.
Just going back to Jake Beasley, and it must have been great for yourself, and of course the fans love to see him back, and the rest of the players. And I think it was sort of your first week, or perhaps just a couple of weeks, where he injured himself with that head collision down at Plymouth, and you were very much thrown straight into the deep end in terms of caring for his welfare that night as well. So it must have been great for you to see him back. Yeah,
Jake's been in the wars this year. Kept me busy from my first game, I think. Bad head injury down at Plymouth. That's the kind of player he is, it seems. Obviously, I'd watched a few games before I came to the football club, so I knew how he played. But when you see it in the flesh, he doesn't stop running. He puts his head where other players won't put their head. It's just that it's the nature of his game, and it's what makes him the player he is. So you can never take that away from him. We just have to try and make him as robust as possible, so that he is able to get kicked and get back up and sprint and get back up, and you're brilliant to see him out there. He's refreshing to watch, and he's a great lad, and again was brilliant through his process with his foot. He's just desperate to be available for as many matches as possible. Wants to help the team as much as possible. So my role is to kind of support that as best I can. But yeah, he's been through it this year, Jake.
I think one other player in the treatment room is Abrahm Adomah as well. What's his injury, and how long do you expect him to be sidelined for?
So Abraham injured his hip flexor muscle, so a muscle deep within his groin, basically. We were looking at probably, we thought we might get him back before the end of the season. He again is pushing really hard, and again wants to be available as quickly as possible. So we'll try and facilitate that process. He's out working on the grass now, completing good sessions, working hard. So hopefully we can see him before the end of the season for a few games. Would be, I think, our goal, and Abe's goal. Yeah.
We've obviously no game this weekend. We had no midweek fixture either. Is that good news for you, that you've got a little bit more time to spend solely on the injured players, if you like, rather than sort of going between the Saturday, Tuesday fixtures as they come quick and fast?
It's the same for everyone. It's such a congested fixture list this year. It's relentless. So even if you pick up a relatively minor injury and you're out for a couple of weeks, in this season you're missing 3, 4, 5 games. So it's for the likes of Stephen Humphreys, it's come at a good time, because we can start that process and really try and crack these boys on without missing as few fixtures as possible. So yeah, it helps. It helps. It does help in that regard.
Have you got a rough time scale for Stephen? Because I know it's the one that sort of fans have been asking most about over the last week.
Yeah, I'd say Stephen's probably around 3 weeks off, all going to plan. Obviously, it's he has a lot of boxes to tick between now and then. I think, from my perspective, we need to get Stephen back quickly, but also safely, so that he comes back and stays fit. And there'll be games which he will be fit and available for selection that he can affect. What we don't want is Stephen going back in and then having to come back out with a separate issue. That's what we're trying to avoid at all costs. Again, Stephen's pushing really hard, and we'll help him along that process. But yeah, so that's the time frame we're talking, I think.
Yeah. And you'll be hoping as well that Jack Vale comes back from international duty in good shape, having previously recovered, to be able to be selected for his country. Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, I worked with Jack at Blackburn for 4 years again, so I know Jack well. I know his injury history. It would be nice to see him. I know ability-wise how good he is as well. So it's frustrating for Jack, because he's struggled this year. But yeah, hopefully he can come back and obviously make a difference for us and stay fit and kick on.